Let the fans speak followers and posters and commenters. Welcome to another installment of Let the Fans Speak. My name is Jill, your host. Today we have an exciting guest, and my guest just arrived, and he is awesome, and I'm going to add him in. Oh, if it worked. But I hope it did. Hello, Eric.
Hello.
How are you?
You are getting the you're getting the car treatment since I can't film this from my office since I have no internet.
It's okay. I respect that, and I thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
I really
no problem.
do. I know your situation and everything like that, so thank you. It's really, really cool.
My situation is no different from anybody else.
So, first we have to discuss this. Okay.
Good one to discuss.
Okay. So,
If I can remember, I wrote that so long ago. I get random questions from it sometime, and I'm like, really? Did I put that in there? It's like I might have. What do you know?
I know, right? So, the unique thing I like about this is every chapter takes place in a different area, like in a different state or in a different city and all that stuff. So it is an amazing book. I agree. So what was the thought process going into writing this book?
So it was my fourth novel I wrote. So take a step back. So I wrote my first one in 2014.
Okay.
I thought, of course, like any ignorant author, that this will lead to fame and fortune, and this will change my. I'll quit corporate America and get to live my dreams.
Right.
Yeah, reality hits you pretty hard when you think. There are people that do that. I will say this: their first book out, they get 7.
You're breaking up. I can't hear you.
What's that?
Yeah, you're breaking up, so I didn't hear any of that. I'm sorry.
Am I back?
Yes,
okay.
You're back.
Okay, sorry. What I was saying was when I was thinking this would kind of catapult me with the first book I wrote, and what I found is what a lot of authors find is it doesn't always happen that way. So it was a good thing it didn't happen, though, in a way, because I don't think I was ready for it. My writing wasn't ready for it, which is probably why it didn't happen. And so I wrote 2 more books in that series, and those 2 didn't get published either. So The Body Man kind of came about because I was I just kind of figured I needed to write something new, and I needed to change it up. It wasn't working.
Right.
3 books written and not published is telling you need to do something different, basically.
Right.
So so it's essentially The Body Man was just a fresh idea, and I wanted to go a little bit more political in that one as well. And so I just spent a lot of time coming up with the concept, and it took a while, and finally knocked it out.
I could definitely tell it was a long thought process, but it panned out really well because every chapter is different in this book. Like every chapter, it kind of like runs together, but it doesn't at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I like about that book. What I like about it.
One of the complaints I got, not complaints, I guess, but one of the things that when I was trying to get The Body Man sold and was having trouble with that one as well initially for a while, is I did have some people say, well, maybe you should rewrite it from purely The Body Man's perspective. But that wasn't the story to me. The story was, who is the Body Man? And considering what's happening to him during the course of the book, it would have been to me, a boring book to just have some person stuck on an oil platform being tortured for the most part.
Exactly.
So I'm glad I didn't listen to the critics, and I not critics, but just critiques, I guess you could say. And so I just kept pushing. And finally, And it was a smaller publisher, but finally I got a publisher that read it and was like, why has this thing not been published yet? And I'm like, that's what I've been wondering. So,
Right.
yeah.
It's really an amazing book. I have to get your other reads. I haven't gotten any other read but this one, but
That's okay.
I can I'll get them. I promise.
Not a problem.
I've been reading a lot of music biographies because that's who I am. I'm the music nerd.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions that I get asked a lot is what made me read music biographies? And actually, I'm going to, for the first time, I'm going to show everybody what book got me into reading music biographies.
It's backwards for me, so I'm trying to figure it out.
So this is your brain on music, The Science of a Human Obsession.
Gotcha.
Okay. So, David Byrne of the Talking Heads reviewed this book.
Okay.
I believe. So it's a very excellent read. It goes into how the brain works when a song is playing, and how the brain interprets that lyric with the mood you're feeling. And
Gotcha.
it's just so in depth, and it's so awesome. So it got me thinking, what, from the artist's perspective, what were they thinking when they wrote the song, or when they wrote the album, or when they decided to name their band whatever they did? So that is the entire reason why I became a music biography reader, and it's all thanks to this book. I know it's backwards for you, but yes, it's an amazing read, and it won Los Angeles Times book. It was one of the book prize finalists. It's Dr. Daniel J. Levitin who wrote it.
Okay.
I don't know who that is, but I don't either. It's the only book I have from him. So, we're going to get into music, but very quickly, what is... how do I word this to you? Because in my head it sounds good, but not... Okay, so... From all your books, because this one's a thriller.
Mm-hmm.
So from all your books, from your perspective, what was the big moment that you had? Like, what is your thought process when you read, or when you know what I mean? Like, what goes into your thought process to pan it out in a book?
So that could get me committed, probably. So I think every artist is slightly neurotic in one way or another. It actually makes me think of a quote, and I mentioned it, I think, on my podcast a while back. One of my favorite lyrics from Bono. I'm a huge U2's on my top of my musical hierarchy. But I think it's Acrobat is the song. I better know it right. But his line is, every artist is a cannibal, every poet is a thief. So you're always, and had this conversation with someone on my show of, every story's been told before. In the court, there's been billions of people that have been alive. So different variations, but the stories end up being very similar themed. If you write a romance book, it's going to follow a certain pattern.
Right.
If you're me and you write a thriller book, you got to have action. You got to have suspense of going, what's happening, and maybe even some spots where people thought they knew what was happening, and it flipped on them. So to be in that genre, it has to follow some sort of a structure.
Right.
So I write in that way too. So when I'm writing, like, one of the things that comes to mind is, I don't want to give the readers any reason to not turn the page at the end of a chapter. I don't want them to go to sleep. I want them to go, well, what's happening next? Or, wow. So as I'm going through the process of trying to craft a story, I'm always trying to end, to some degree at least, every chapter is a mini cliffhanger. And I'm always trying to keep those readers, because you're trying to not lose people's attention. And I don't want to lose my attention. So when I'm writing something, because it is something kind of new for me in my head, where some authors go in and they write like massive outlines, thousands and thousands of words outlines. Um, I don't. So for me, I come up with a concept, and my process has changed over the years, but it used to be mainly I'd come up with a concept, come up with a title, know how I want to start it, and then kind of know where I'm going to end it, and then I leave a lot of the middle for just be inspired as I'm writing, is the easiest way to say it. So I still, to some extent, do that. I do outline it more now, although it's not
Well,
formal outlining.
mhm.
But I do try to go through and have an idea. I think that's because I'm getting older, and I've gotta know ahead of time a little bit more structure of where I'm going to go with it.
Okay. All right. That sounds awesome.
It's,
I can't. I can.
but it's hard because every author does it different. So there might be similarities, but in the end, like where does creativity come from? I think you're born with it. I think there's a muse. There's something, the only reason you'd get into writing is if you have something to say and you have the ability to say it. It's not something. It's something that can be taught, sure, but I don't think the creativity side of it can be taught necessarily. I think you have to have, like, I have a wicked imagination, and not wicked in the sense of, I guess, sinful,
Yeah.
but wicked in the sense of my imagination never stops. So, I'm sitting in a car talking to you, and I'm seeing, cars drive by, people walk by, and I just had someone walk by a minute ago, and my brain immediately is like ponders a couple thoughts about that
Yeah.
person. Like, well, what if they're this? What if they're that?
Mhm.
That always goes on. And that's a gift. I think that's a gift from above, basically, that you kind of have that. So you almost have to have that curiosity as like a kid. Um, that's how you can keep writing books, and that can leave you, I'm sure. But I hope it never leaves me, at least.
Oh, definitely not, because this book is just amazing. I enjoyed
They get better. They get
yeah.
better.
They get better.
Yeah, they get better. That's not my best book. And the one I'm gonna put out here in a month and a half is definitely not. I mean, it's the best one I've written, but it won't be the best one I write.
Right.
That'll be the next one, and then after I finish that one, it's always the next one. That's the kind of psychosis of it, I think, in a way, is you're always striving to get better with each book.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Well, you did good with The Body Man, that's for sure.
Well, thank you.
Very good book. Okay, so now we're gonna switch gears to music because I'm a music fan.
Absolutely.
So, you said one of your bands you hold high is U2.
Yep.
So, what led you to hold them so high?
That's a good question. I kind of never really thought about that. They were just one of those, I grew up in the 80s. Really when U2 was becoming pretty big was formative years for me. And I think I just latched on as a young age to just their songs. And so as I got older and as their music kind of changed and they aged, I was hitting different milestones in my life, and it seemed like each album they came out with kind of hit me in the right spot. Even like an album like Pop, which a lot of people didn't like because it was more like disco kind of stuff. I was feeling at that point, so I was kind of like along on the ride with them, basically.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah.
So, what's your favorite song from U2?
Ooh. I don't know if I have a favorite, honestly. There's so many I love. I probably, if I was a gun to my head, uh, I probably would go Where the Streets Have No Name, probably.
Okay.
But it kind of varies. It kind of depends on what I'm listening to. And I haven't listened to them as much in the last couple of years, honestly. I've kind of gravitated towards other bands. I've gotten really big into Shinedown, of course. And I've kind of went through. I didn't know a lot of their back catalog until a couple of years ago, so I've kind of delved back into some of their earlier stuff. And but the music inspires me, whether it's U2 or Bon Jovi or Shinedown or Metallica or I, my playlist is like insane. If you look at like what's on I have different playlists, and one of them is like a full playlist, and I mean it goes anywhere from Whitney Houston to AC/DC to Meatloaf to Air Supply just everywhere. And it's just, music to me is such a inspiring force, and it inspires me to write more. I don't listen as much as I used to. Like when I wrote my first novel back in 2014, for whatever reason at that period in life, I was listening to a lot of Thousand Foot Crutch,
Oh, I
which
love
is
them.
kind of a Christian band, but more of a harder sound. But they're phenomenal. The albums are just so good.
He
Um,
said phenomenal. That's an album from them. Phenomenon.
Yeah, phenomenon. Yes, exactly. Yeah, the music definitely inspires me as I'm writing, though, and brings a smile to my face for sure.
Actually, now that you bring up Thousand Foot Crutch, that's going to be one of my tattoos in the future. I
Is it?
have 20. Yeah, I have 21 tattoos. I'm
Okay.
planning more. I have a Led Zeppelin tattoo planned that I didn't even get yet, and I also have Thousand Foot Crutch. Actually, the name of the song is Phenomenon, and the lyric will be "I'll shine, but I'll never be see-through."
I know the lyric. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
that's a very good one. I resonate with that song very well. I also resonate with Move by them off of their album, The Art
Okay.
of Breaking, I believe it is.
Hmm.
So,
If I ever meet Bono one day, which I will eventually, I'll bump into him. I'll probably have him sign my arm or something, and I'll have that tattooed. I'll
yes,
have
I love.
Bono's name tattooed on my arm. So
Yeah, I love when people do that. I enjoy it very much. Um, just like random song lyrics that don't mean anything to like you or me, and it means something to that person.
mm,
Like I have a tattoo here that literally says, "And all the world will love you as long as you are," which is a song lyric from the band Bad Company, Shooting
okay.
Star. And I incorporated that with the suicide prevention logo because at one time I was suicidal. I'm not anymore, thankfully.
That's good.
But the meaning behind that one, I left it blank because in the song, it leaves it blank. And the brief synopsis of the song that I took it as was Johnny was a schoolboy when he heard his first Beatles song. And then he decided to get a guitar, play. He's in a band. He's successful. He made an album, #1, great album, all this stuff. He was, famous that he wanted to be. And then he just threw it all away because at the ending, the third verse is Johnny died one night, died in his bed, bottle of whiskey, sleeping tablets by his head. So I
Hmm.
assumed that he overdosed. So he was like a shooting star because, everybody saw him, everybody liked him, and then he was gone. So
Yeah.
I took the lyrics and all the world will love you as long as you are. And then I left that sentence blank because if you insert anybody's name,
Hmm.
it'll complete that sentence.
Hmm. I like that.
That's why I got that tattoo. Sorry to explain it like that, but
Never apologize for sharing stuff. Don't ever apologize.
yeah. So Thousand Foot Crutch is definitely a good band. So when you were a kid growing up, what was like the #1 band you listened to? Stop.
Probably Guns N' Roses,
Okay.
honestly. I was born in '76, so they were, by the time I was a teenager. I remember having Appetite for Destruction, of course, but then I remember when like the Use Your Illusion albums came out. I was in high school, and I think it was high school. Yeah, I think it was early high school. Yeah, probably Gun. You have some concerts that sometimes you're just not able to see, and I think it was sometime in high school. I don't remember. It was '92 or '94. Guns N' Roses toured with Metallica,
Ooh.
Monsters of Rock tour, basically.
Oh.
Which, of course, at the time, Axl was a complete asshole,
Right.
and was throwing fits and not coming to shows and coming late and all that. But there ended up actually being uh, some sort of a riot because of one of Axl's outbursts or whatever. I think in Canada, if I recall. But that was a show that I just never got to see. And so fast forward, last year, I guess, I took my son to see Guns N' Roses when they came to Charlotte. Um, Unfortunately, some artists, their voices stay strong for 30 years. Axl's, it's good, but
Yeah.
it's not '80s Axl, of course. But Slash is '80s Slash. his guitar,
Yeah.
and I saw him actually twice last year. He also came up and did a show in Asheville, Warren Haynes' Christmas Jam, I think it's called. And so I was able to get fairly close to Axel or to Slash, and got to see him jam out twice last year. So that was kind of one of those like childhood bucket list items to see Slash.
Oh,
So
he got guitar lessons from Joe Satriani.
did he really?
He did. A lot
Okay.
of band members, a lot of musicians did. Kirk Hammett of Metallica did
Did it
as well.
Okay.
Yes, he did. And Elliot watched Guns N' Roses open for Motley Crue. That's pretty badass. Those are two great bands.
That would be super cool. So I saw Motley Crue 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago I saw them. They were touring with Def Leppard and who else? Poison and Joan Jett. So I didn't see Joan, but I saw the other three up in Charlotte again. So I've been to, and people have commented, I've been to like a lot of shows in the last 3 years. Part of that was I was married for a lot of years. And it's not a slight at my ex, but she wasn't into shows. We saw U2 a couple times, but we didn't go to very many shows. So once I kind of got my ability to do what I wanted without oversight, we'll just say it that way. Yeah. I was like, what do I want to do with my time? I said, man, I want to see more shows. So I kind of went on a bender for a while. If I'd go see not anybody, but I'd go see any bands that I thought I missed out on. So man, Elton John, Garth Brooks, Daughtry, geez, I need probably the full list for him. I'll end up missing them. Matchbox 20, Bush, Candlebox, like so many. And Shinedown. The Shinedown ones were a little bit unique though because of meeting John and the opportunities John gave me. I kind of got the golden ticket that I know people who love Shinedown are probably extremely envious about getting. And I don't deserve getting it, but also to me, that's a reminder to people of you don't know what's going to happen in life.
Right.
So you don't know who you're going to meet, and you meeting one person can change their life and or change your life. Exactly. And in some ways that meeting did, just for the doors that opened up for me, Yeah. It was pretty, but I think I saw Shinedown 8 times in 2022, and I saw him twice last year. I didn't see him this year. They didn't come close. I was going to go to one show, and circumstances didn't work out. Right. And I was thinking of going to the last show, and Eric wasn't going to be there. So, yeah, I like the full band. I don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. I understand. Yeah, John's a good guy. I'm actually wearing one of the shirts I recently got off his website, actually, the Giddy Up one. But he was the one who pretty much gave me that so-called kick in the ass to get this podcast started. Because I came with him, I messaged him the idea of it. And, I wasn't expecting anything like soon from him, like, because I know he's a busy guy. So I mean, I'll message him, and there'll be times where he won't reply for a while, and I'm not mad. But like, he replied almost instantly with, "Yeah, go ahead, do it. You'll be great," and all this stuff. And here I am doing a podcast. So I do thank John for giving me that verbal kick in the ass.
Yeah.
And getting stuff going for me.
Well, we all need that. Yes. So that's not unique in that regard.
Yes. And all my guests in the past have been awesome. So I'm lucky that I'm given the opportunity to express myself through music, and I'm grateful for my guests to have the time to talk to me and vent about music as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because music and reading are really good for the soul. So why not combine them? You know what I mean? So that's what I do. I read music, biographies, and talk music. So you said U2, you said Basim Crutch, you said Guns N' Roses. Is there any other musical influences that you have?
From younger?
It doesn't matter. Younger now.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of crazy how many. Bon Jovi was a big one. Growing up in the '80s, and that was another concert that um, it might be the last time. I don't know if John will ever perform again. So I took my son up to see him in Charlotte, the Spectrum Center in 2022, and I broke the bank in a way. And I spoiled my kid, which was a bad combo, but I got
Oh,
like I don't know, 15 rows from the stage, floor tickets, 15 rows, paid an arm and a leg. And it was like an incredible concert. Now, ironically, and I'm one of the annoying people that films not all the time, but I'll film a bunch, especially my favorite songs. I'll film
hmm
snippets of it. Played
hmm
it back after, and John sounded horrible. And it's not a knock at John because I love John, but while you're there, did not sound horrible. Sounded amazing. So the experience, it didn't take away from the experience, and I had so much fun that I think we saw the show on a Friday, and then come that Monday. So Charlotte and Greenville, South Carolina, are only about an hour from each other, a little more, and I live between the two of them. So they were playing in Greenville, South Carolina that Monday, so I jumped on whatever, Ticketmaster, StubHub, whatever, and I wasn't as close. It was probably about 25, 30 rows back, but I got another floor ticket just by myself. I didn't have my son. So I kind of felt like I didn't get to see Bon Jovi up to that point. I never had. So seeing him twice in basically a weekend was pretty amazing experience.
oh my God. I have yet to see Bon Jovi live. Yeah, I don't think I'll get that opportunity. But I
He
live in
might.
Jersey, and he's a Jersey boy, so
Yeah,
uh,
I watched his documentary a couple months ago that came out, and I think if he can get his voice back, he's again, it's got to be anyone creatively that reaches the top of the mountain. It's really hard to not perform at your best. And you
right.
can relate that to writing a book. If you write a book and you know it's a stinker and you put it out and everyone tells you it's a stinker,
hmm
man, that can crush your confidence. So
Right.
for someone like John to have voice issues and have surgery, which he had and everything, he
Yeah.
doesn't want to perform unless he can perform as John Bon Jovi. He doesn't want to be a version of a lesser John Bon Jovi.
Right.
And I respect
So
that.
I do.
Um, so I can totally see why he would want to do that. We had Aerosmith tickets and it got delayed last year and it got pushed back to this October. And then whatever it was, 6 8 weeks ago, we got the message saying that Steven can't sing. So they've
Yeah.
calling it a career. So Aerosmith's one of those ones on the bucket list that I'll never probably see live, because of age out basically with Steven's voice.
Right.
So Aerosmith's another big influence. I listened to a lot of music as a kid. I didn't go to very many concerts. My parents weren't really concert people. Um, my first concert, I was 17, turning 18, right around then, and it was actually Candlebox. I went and saw Candlebox at the New Haven Coliseum, and so I kind of had a full circle moment where I saw Candlebox last summer, not this past one, but summer of 2023. They were playing up in Charlotte, and I got pretty, went by I go to a lot of concerts by myself. My friends don't like concerts. I'll take my son, but I don't always have him, or he's not always interested. I need to find a lady friend that likes concerts at some point that's close by, but I don't know if
Right.
I have time for that, but maybe one day.
Yeah. Right.
Um, but so I saw Candlebox, and I thought that'd be the last time I got to see him. I think that was their 30th anniversary tour. And then this year I saw that they were the opening act for Bush, and Jerry Cantrell. So I went and saw that concert about 6 weeks ago or so, and again crushed it. And then I was actually leaving the stadium, there's a smaller venue, maybe held 3 or 4 thousand people. And as I was
Mhm.
leaving, Kevin, the lead singer from Candlebox, was coming out of the parking lot. So I bumped into him and got to talk to him. Of course, my
That's
son's like, you had to get a selfie with him. I was like, I actually didn't. I was like, you know what? The few times in my life I don't want to annoy someone by saying, let me get your picture. And I just shook his hand and talked to him for a minute. And it was kind of cool to get that kind of like full circle moment happen.
that is really really cool.
Yeah, it
I
was
like
fun.
when you like bump into an artist and they'll like actually talk with you and
Yeah.
give you the moment and give you the respect as you give them the same respect.
Right.
Done that a couple times. This 2016, I got to see Jane's Addiction live for the 20th anniversary of Ritual the Habitual.
Okay.
And not only was it amazing, and yes, Perry Farrell and Dave Navarro were there, and no, Perry Farrell didn't punch Dave in the face. So it was a good time. And the opener was Dinosaur Jr., but they had like technical issues, so you really couldn't hear them.
Okay.
But it was just an amazing moment. I got bits and clips of Being Caught Stealing, Stop, and all that stuff. And then they did Rebel Rebel by David Bowie cover song, which was amazing. Yeah. I filmed that whole entire song. That was the only song that I filmed entirely. And then they did encore songs. And one of the encore songs was one of my all-time favorite Jane's Addiction songs, Mountain Song. And I was belting it out. I was screaming. I was singing and all that stuff. And then I realized that I didn't get any video of that song. So I'm like, I'm like a little depressed by that, because that was like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, because I'm pretty sure Perry ain't going to tour with Dave anymore.
Probably not.
But, but it was fun. It was very
enjoyable. There could be enough money thrown one day, and they might do a reunion tour.
Anything's right?
Possible.
And Meet Elliott says Iron Maiden. Agreed. Iron Maiden's another band I'd love to see live.
Not seen them live. I'm not a huge fan, but I don't dislike them, so I would be open to seeing them in some sort of a festival or something for sure. So.
All right. So when you're at an Iron Maiden concert, you have to freak out about Eddie. You cannot not freak out about Eddie. Eddie is the man.
Okay.
Actually, Jim Brewer did a skit about that. Their mascot, and it was hilarious. He compared it to like the adult Wiggles, and it was just so funny.
Oh no!
Oh my God, you gotta watch. I'll send you the YouTube link for it. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, do that.
It's funny. Any comedians? Do you like any comedians?
I do. So I've actually been to a lot of. I've been to a bunch, not a lot. I guess a bunch of comedy shows. Another thing that once my life simplified, as horrible as that might sound, what do I want to do with my free time? It was really weird, because I was married for legally for 18 years, 15 probably, but 18 legally. You all of a sudden get that spot where you separate. And all of a sudden, you're used to having someone there, kids, spouse, every day, pretty much. And then all of a sudden, you find that more than half your time or so, you're alone. And so you kind of get to choose what are you going to do with your free time. So part of it was concerts. I've seen, let's see, in the last year and a half, I've seen Jeff Dunham, Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, Adam Sandler. Am I missing someone? I think there's someone else. Brad Williams, who's a little person.
Yeah.
Was actually, I took my son to that. Brad was so dirty during half the show. And, my son's not little, so it wasn't bad parenting, but I was kind of like, he better not get that joke. He better not know what that's about.
Exactly right.
It was fun. It was a funny show. So, but. Yeah, I'm a huge Dave Chappelle fan. I love Chappelle, and I've not seen him yet. He's a harder one to get tickets for. I would like to go out at some point. I listen to probably the only podcast that I listen to on a weekly basis is probably Rogan. I do listen to the ones on the Spirit Talk Network, especially the one with Eric and John. I try to catch that every week. But like outside of our network of podcasts, Rogan's probably the only one that I'm fairly consistent. I don't watch all of them, but if it's a guest that interests you. But he has his own comedy mothership, comedy place out in Austin, and I'd like to see Kill Tony and see some there at one point. And that would be so. We'll see.
Oh, definitely. Meet Elliott said he saw George Carlin live. I'm jealous. I would have loved to see George Carlin. His views on oh my God, I gotta send you another video. Um,
Oh no.
his view on Mother Earth is just, he's so on point with stuff. He was
Yeah.
great. He was brilliant. And he had the funniest way of doing it. And it was
Right.
just awesome.
Well,
George Carlin.
he did comedy in a time where you weren't, society now is so damn afraid to offend somebody, and
Mm-hmm.
they've tried to put restrictions on comics. Well, there's certain groups you can't target, or there's certain things you can't say, and it's like, whoa, comedy has no rules. Who decides whether it's going to be funny or not is the listener, and who decides if they're going to have a career or not are the. So if they want to get on the road, I mean, they have the right to that. They probably won't get another gig though. So, Carlin and Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy, they they didn't grow up in a time with smartphones. Everything they said wasn't recorded. They could
Right.
basically say whatever shit they wanted, and there really
Yeah.
wasn't a pushback for it,
Really. Yeah. Definitely.
which we don't have now. I mean, I even catch myself sometimes where I want to say something on the podcast. I'd be like, probably shouldn't say that.
Exactly.
Probably should bite my tongue on this one because I want people to buy my books and not be canceled.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
But
He did the what is it? Oh my God. Carlin did a what? Seven things you can't say on the radio.
yes,
I,
yeah, I don't remember what the number was, but yeah, the words you cannot say, basically. Yeah,
That's awesome. He's right though. He was, oh my God, he was, I gotta send you that Earth one. I gotta send you Jim Brewer, and I gotta send you the one he said about Earth. He's like, Earth is not gonna go anywhere. You think plastic bags are a threat? Humans are more of a threat than plastic bags and all this. And he's right.
yeah,
I mean, humans destroy things. Humans create fires. Humans pollution, all that stuff. But like the way he words it, it's just incredible. And then he starts mouthing off what happened in space with the supernovas and the shooting stars and the meteors, and oh my God, he's so
yeah.
spot on. It's truly amazing. It really is.
I
He
th-
was
I think
very knowledgeable.
I think humans as a general in this day and age have this arrogance that we can control everything,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't side people's opinion on global warming or any of this other stuff. You can believe whatever it is you want, but to think Mother Earth isn't going to win in the end,
Yeah.
we're not going to take the planet down. The planet will take us down. Now we could do some very damaging things, really mainly because of nuclear weapons, but I still don't know that we could destroy the planet even with the nuclear
No.
weapons. I think the planet would slowly come back. It might take a very long time. We can wipe ourselves off the planet, but I also think the planet could wipe us out, and I don't think it's going to depend on if we, have too many cows farting or too many cars running down the road. I don't think that's going to be the extinction of that, basically.
Right. Yeah. And he goes on like he's like the earth will be here no matter what. It survived meteors, it survives tornadoes, it survives hurricanes, and for some reason it's still
Still
the
going.
earth. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Nothing's gonna destroy the earth. We can, but it'll rebuild itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So another thing is comedy and music. What is your take? For instance, Stephen Lynch. What's your take on Stephen Lynch?
I'm not familiar with Stephen Lynch. Who's Stephen Lynch?
I don't know. Okay, so Stephen, Stephen, he's a comedian who sings his comic skits.
Oh, okay.
He plays acoustic guitar. I'll actually send you stuff on Stephen Lynch.
Okay.
He's really cool. He's very good. He's got a voice too.
Yeah.
But
I would say I'm in
he
favor of it because I grew up listening to Adam Sandler's comedy albums, which he did a lot of
yes,
singing and stuff. So yeah, if they do it and can entertain me, but I don't. It's not something that I dabble in very often. But I'm totally. Again, when it comes to creative stuff, I love the different formats, and and this is something that we're talking now on a format that people didn't have the ability to do a podcast even like 10 years ago, really, to in any mainstream way, basically.
right. I agree with that one. It's very good. It's I don't know, like For me, I was born in '86, so I grew up in the '90s. Half the stuff we have to listen to now, and half the stuff we have to adapt to now didn't exist back then. Like, I didn't grow up with Wi-Fi. I didn't grow up with
Right.
smartphones. No, I had to entertain myself. Like,
Yeah.
if it was a nice sunny day, my dad would kick us out and tell us not to come back until we can't see our feet. So,
Right.
we would bike with friends. And the other thing that kids have the advantage of now that we didn't when I was growing up was if they wanted to hang at a friend's house and they were on bikes far away from their homes, all they have to do is this. Me, no, we had to ride home, ask our parents, make sure they knew, and then ride back. So,
Right.
and I miss those days. I used to play hockey. We used to play this thing called water hockey when it rained. It's just being rain, but it's fun, you know? I mean, we entertained ourselves. We built dirt mountains in the woods and stuff, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Kept manhunt at night in the woods. That wasn't the greatest, but it was fun.
I played Manhunt many times in the evenings in the woods, so absolutely. I'm 10 years older than you, so I'm even more archaic when it comes to playing stuff. And I mean, I same thing. Like Saturday mornings, we'd get on our bikes and we'd go, and there was never a question where we went. There was no tracking. You didn't have air tags to stick on your kids. I mean, there was just, if your kid didn't come home and got kidnapped, well, you probably hear a news story about it at some point. But,
like, really?
that was
yeah.
it was the dumb one that got kidnapped. Oh, that one shouldn't have gone with the stranger. I don't know what to tell you. So it was just totally different.
Yes, definitely. Good night, B. Elliot. He said he's leaving. He's gonna go to bed. Good night. Thank you for joining.
Mark's always wonderful at joining the podcasts and events. So
yes,
great having Mark.
Yes, thank you again, Mark. I appreciate it. God, we did stupid stuff as kids though. But like nowadays, if you do it, it'll, they'll rat you out in the worst way.
Right.
Like I was a pyromaniac, but like in a good way. Like me and a group of friends, both there were 7 of us, so we each got $1 from our house, and we walked to the local Rite Aid down the street, and we bought a big bag of lollipops. We just burn them. We literally just watched them burn. Yeah, so we try to burn apples. That didn't go so well. Dried leaves were fun. One kid got a candle from his house, so he burnt it, and we used the hot wax to make a circle on the street, and we just lit it on fire. We did Purell hand sanitizer. We did, oh my God, half the shit we did as a kid you can't do now.
Yeah.
And that's sad. That's very upsetting to me, because like nowadays I'll see a kid on their iPad and they're like, "Mommy, what was it like for you growing up?" I'm like, "Kid, you have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea how fun we had it."
I know.
We had the slides, the big metal slides in the summertime that literally burn your ass as you go down. They don't have them anymore, and I'm kind of upset about that.
The merry-go-rounds. We used to see how far we could fling kids off merry-go-rounds. So you'd get multiple kids on it, and the big kids would get on the outside, and the contest was to see who's going to go the furthest, basically.
I love that idea.
And now they're basically the merry-go-rounds they have. My kids had one in a park that I used to take them to when they were kids. You couldn't get that thing faster than like a half mile per hour. Doesn't matter how hard you swung it. And I'm just like, I'd always say that. Man, you guys are missing out, man. You just...
Oh, right. We used to use them as human catapults. Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah, I think in that regard, we're so much softer and I'm softer as a parent. I need to know where my kids are. My parents didn't know where I was. And it's easy to fall in that mindset of worst case scenario. Well, what's going to happen to your kids? You got to see them. And that's probably the advent of CNN, 24-hour news, of Amber Alerts and and there's positives that's come with that. It's not all negative, but we've given up something to have that capability. And I think part of it is we've given up freedom for sure, but we've kind of given up our innocence in a way of now, you're always afraid there's a boogeyman behind you. And sometimes there is.
Yeah.
I'm in a parking lot. I mean, there could be one back here behind me. It's getting dark. But you know what? If so, then I had a good run, let me have the freedom of sitting in my car, you know. Let the cops show up, then I'm in trouble. But what are you doing there? Sorry, I don't have internet at my house. I came into town where it's a little bit better.
Oh man, oh my God, I could just imagine all the stuff that I used to do. I have an 11-year-old, and she can't know half the shit that I did because I don't want her to. But it's sad at the same time because we had so much fun. It was a wild run, and then Wi-Fi started, and I remember Windows 95. I got excited about. I remember Windows 95. I used to think it was so cool when that blue screen came on with the different color windows. I'm like, this is so cool. Now it's like Windows changed everything. So
I remember Oregon Trail, so I go even further back. So yeah.
With video games, Super NES, the old one with the Zelda, the golden cartridge.
Absolutely.
Duck Hunt, Excitable, all that stuff. I remember that stuff.
I had Atari. I had old school. Absolutely. I had the first Game Boy when it came out.
Yep.
So it was black and white. It wasn't color Game Boy. It was a black and white, gray scale Game Boy, basically.
Yeah. So. And then they came out with Game Boy Color, and then that was cool. And then they came out with Game Boy Advance, and that was even better. And then they have the Nintendo DS, which is the dual screens, and then they have Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
It's crazy. My kid, she wanted a pink one in 2020, so I got it for her for Christmas. Well, Santa got it for her for Christmas. She knows Santa's not real. But sorry to upset anyone watching, but yeah. Anyway, so it broke, and she wanted another one, and her favorite color is yellow. So I got her again last year. So the price was $200 in 2020, and the price was still $200 in 2023. Which, I mean, in a way, it's good because inflation went up a lot more. So I'm pretty sure it's a lot more now. Yeah. But I lucked out with that. I don't know. But now she's got two, but one's broken. So, and now the thing that upsets me is she has a cell phone, and I didn't give it to her. My mother hyped her up on her birthday for it, so she got one for her birthday.
Yeah.
And, I mean, she plays Roblox with her. Yeah, she interacts with her friends. Like, she'll call them on FaceTime and all, and she's social that way. Mm-hmm. But I'd rather have her have that physical social contact than that virtual social contact.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't allow her to have social media apps.
Yeah, the only that's smart.
She has WhatsApp, because all of us have it. She has Snapchat, because I have it, and my two sisters have it, and then that's all she has.
Okay.
She doesn't have TikTok, no Switch, no Twitch, no Discord, no Facebook, no Instagram, no nothing.
Yeah.
I don't allow that, because I didn't grow up with it, and I know technology is here to stay. But at the same time, she's 11, she's vulnerable, she's in a new school.
Right.
So I want her to make new friends and play with them and be physically social than virtually social.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, my son got a cell phone at 16, but he was starting to drive and starting to get real busy with karate and stuff, and so it made sense. My daughter got one. I fought that one. Well, my ex had wanted me to split a cell phone, and I'm like, this was probably about a year and a half ago, and I said, she's 12. She might have even been 11 and a half at the time, so I don't remember now. I was like, no, she doesn't need a phone. Mm-hmm. She ended up getting her one anyways, but she only has call and text capability. There's no apps on it. It's like she can't get on the internet. It's restricted. So it's about the best version you can have for her with it, but yeah, so yeah, because I just said she's 13. She doesn't need 12 at the time, I think, or whatever. She doesn't need the distraction, because I have a niece who I have a lot over, or we do a lot with her, and she's almost 17. I mean, and I give her a hard time. I kind of get into her because like she's holding that phone doing something all the time. We're
Yep.
walking down the road in a park, she's holding her phone, and I'm like, yo, yo,
Yeah.
yo, put the phone down or I'm gonna take it away. It's like,
Exactly.
get away from the phone.
Yeah. So our phones are human trackers pretty much now.
Absolutely.
Not only is that the scary part, because the ones tracking us aren't our relatives and loved ones, which
Correct.
is the scary part.
Yeah.
And that's why we need the body man. Um,
The body man would do some interesting things if he was actually in charge. So
oh, definitely. I would vote the body man president. Definitely.
long as it's him and not me, I don't want that. That role is purely egotism on steroids. There's no reason. There's
Yeah.
nothing appealing about that role.
No,
So
no, there isn't.
I try to be
It's
nice to all the occupants though, because one day I want one of them to let me go sit at the Resolute desk.
yeah.
So I try to keep my criticism at a minimum.
Right.
Um, but and I try to avoid politics because I want people on both sides to buy my books. The one thing I will say is, out of 330 million people, this is the best we can do. Really, this is
Yeah.
the best we can do because I think we're screwed.
Yeah. Oh
So,
yeah.
think we're screwed.
Definitely.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really like getting political because, like, for me personally, I don't know enough about it. I don't follow politics. And it's not because I hate Biden and I hate Trump. It's just the mere fact that whatever happens, we get screwed anyway. So,
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting. So, I'm 47, so I remember the first time I voted. I remember my parents' conversation about stuff. And really, when I was growing up, you didn't talk much about it. Like, there wasn't, you might know someone's political leanings, but it wasn't a big deal. Versus now, if
mhm,
you're a fan of Trump, liberal people just think you're one of the worst people. And
mhm,
then if you're a fan of Trump or Kamala or Biden, conservatives might be like, man, you want our country to fail. So there's a divisiveness there now that it's been there for a while. It's not like in the last election cycle, but I don't remember it when I was a kid so much.
right,
There seemed to be like, Tip O'Neill and the people back in the 80s and early 90s, Bill Clinton, they were able to work with each other. Even if they had bad things to say about each other, they were able to find some common ground. And I think probably Bush on 2000s and on now, that's so hard to find is it's just a lot of tribalism going on. And if you're on one side, you must hate the other side, or the other side hates you. And I always try to circle people back to what unites us is a
right,
lot more than what divides us. The dividing things,
right,
they are important, but we make them a bigger deal than they probably really are most of the time.
right.
And I keep track of it, and I have to just from a writing standpoint, from an interest standpoint. But I've taken a step back. I actually went to two inaugurations. I went to both President Bush inaugurations, and it wasn't a rah rah necessarily Bush thing. I just happened to in 2000. I reached out. I thought it'd be cool to go to inauguration. Um, I was living fairly close to DC, or reasonably close, not super close, but so I ended up getting tickets through my senator, and I lived in South Carolina at the time, and I was able to get tickets from the senator. They weren't special tickets; it was regular tickets, but it got me in the viewing area. So I saw Bush's first inauguration, and which was really different because it was pre 9/11. And
Yeah,
then his second inauguration, my mom got tickets. And at the time, I was living in Richmond. So I kind of saw how DC changed after 9/11. And she asked me if I'd go because I had already been to an inauguration. And it was not an enjoyable experience.
right,
It was the security apparatus by that point was so crazy. You couldn't get near anything that was worth seeing. It was just very different. Wasn't, and I kind of decided at that point, the next time I go to an inauguration, I'm on the stage. Not that I'm raising my hand, I'll never get elected, but I'm a VIP somewhere. I'm getting I'm bypassing a lot of the security crap and everything. I don't want to just be out there with the masses. So
Right, yeah. You don't
we'll
want
see.
to be like one of the fighters. You just want to stay, united and all that stuff. I understand.
Well, like circling back to music, that's been a hard. It was a kind of a hard transition because during 2022, having that access to Shinedown, um, you get really used to it really quick.
Yeah.
You get used to going. I did. Let's see. I did. I think 4 shows locally in my region. Um, I did 2 shows out in Texas. I did a Aftershock in Sacramento, and then Cardiff, Wales. So I kind of saw the band in all these different venues, and in every of those venues, the only restriction was don't go on stage during the show. Was basically my restriction.
Right,
So
yeah, of
you had
course.
full access to go. Like during the show, I could go walk down to the pits, or I could go walk up to the nosebleeds, or I could go back behind the stage, or could just go anywhere. And it was amazing, and it was a real blessing to have. But the reality kicks in fast when you then buy tickets for the next show, and you're up in the 300 section. You're just like, I got used to going backstage and getting dinner really fast, and
Yeah, right?
going
Yeah,
and sitting and talking with Eric and Barry after the show. I got used to that.
yeah, yeah.
Axl Rose isn't inviting me to come backstage anymore.
Right? I met half of Shinedown back in 2019. This is when I first saw John. They were playing at a Hard Rock bar in Atlantic City, New Jersey,
Okay.
and I went to that show because it was a birthday gift. So
Gotcha.
because my birthday is September 11th, and the show was September
Okay.
21st. So it was a birthday gift. So I went, and after the show, I met Zach outside the venue,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a picture with Zach. And then there, Eric Space Tech at the time, I met him outside.
Great
And
guy.
then a friend of mine was there, but they had to leave that night because they had to work at 10 a.m. So I did a little bit of gambling there with my friend. And then I got a text message from another friend saying, "Hey, Shinedown's at Hard Rock Bar at the bar. Where are you?" So I walked to the bar and I met Barry, Zach, and it was funny when I met Zach again because Zach walked right past me. He goes, "Hey, nice to see you again. It's been a while." I'm like, "I know. Tell me about it." And it was literally 5 minutes ago, and it was great.
That's funny.
But John was working, so I didn't want to bother him because he had to keep watch of where Barry and Zach were, and then
Yes.
their photographer Sanjay was there as well.
Yep.
So and Zach's at the time guitar tech was there, Sparky.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to be like in John's like way if he had to see where anybody was.
Right.
So I didn't approach him, but I think I acknowledged him or nodded at him or something like that. But yeah, I've known John since 2019, so it was really cool. And they're all very nice. Barry gives amazing hugs. Uh, um,
Have you got a
Sanjay,
Have you got a Barry kiss though?
I did not get a Barry kiss. You did? You were blessed with Barry kiss?
So we were backstage. Oh God, which show was that? I think that was the one in Wales. We were backstage. There
Oh,
was a bunch of us. What's
we
that?
have 2 minutes. We have 2 minutes left until it's going to kick us off.
Oh, okay. I'll make it a
So
quick story.
okay.
So we were
Well,
a
I
bunch of
don't know if you want to continue. Like, we'll do part two if you want.
Yeah. So we gotta like jump back on or something.
Yeah. As soon as it ends, we'll jump back on because it's probably going to cut you
Okay.
off. So
I'll save the Barry kissing story for part 2 then. So
right. Oh, that's going to be great. So
that's
we'll let
it. Sounds like it's gonna get twisted fast, and it's not that twisted actually. So
yeah. Well, we'll let Instagram kick us off, and then it'll. I'll. Can I edit a post after I post it? Like, if I post the reel, can I edit and add like, font?
I I don't know. I don't know if you. I know when you load it up, you can put a description and stuff in there. I'm not sure what you can edit and what you can't though on the screen.
Okay, so it's gonna kick us off. So what I'm gonna do is just put part 2 coming ...
Okay.
and then we'll go live again, and then I'll do all that for part 2.
Okay. No problem.
So
I might
yeah,
start my car, so
it's
I.
gonna kick us off very soon, and
Okay.
then once it does, I'll do the live again. But yeah,
Yeah. No
so
problem.
it was very cool. It was very awesome meeting. Have Shinedown. A fan came up to Barry and asked if Brent was there, and all Barry said was Brent isn't coming down, and then she just walked away. Like, what?